All right, guys, we are taking a look at the Arizona Cardinals here in the first episode of our mini-series, talking about win totals for each NFL team. And we start with the Cardinals, alphabetical order. We're just going to roll right on into it. Cardinals over-under for the year wins 4.5, minus 102 to the over, minus 120 to the under. The way we've kind of done it, just very lightly. It's not super super intact there. It's not very tight, but we have it at exactly 4.5 wins. What we're going with the under. We'll get into this to the roster as we go, but the schedule is brutal. The away schedule is really brutal. At Washington, at San Francisco, at the Rams, at Seattle, at Cleveland, at Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Chicago, at Philadelphia. I mean, 7 of them you can kind of just chalk up as losses probably. It's a really, really brutal. The home games are not much better. Giants, Cowboys, Bengals, Ravens, Rams, 49ers again, and Seahawks again. I mean, it's very, very difficult. It's a very difficult schedule. Their toughest stretch right there, right after they play Washington, they play the Giants, Cowboys, 49ers, and Bengals all in a row, though 3 of them are at home, at least for them, which kind of helps a little bit here. But we're going to be starting this without Kyler Murray. Does Kyler Murray even come back? Who knows? Are the Cardinals favorite in any of these games for the year? Probably not. I mean, the clearest one I could see would probably be the Rams if they fall off, which is a very big possibility here. That defense is awful. And there's some injury risk all over the place, but there's a chance that they're not favorite in any game here. We got to get them to 5 wins. It's very, very tough. But, you know, it's not too much. It's a lot to expect from a team that's got a really bad roster, a new head coach, a rookie head coach, rookie coordinators as well, and without the quarterback. So let's run through the roster a little bit here, take a look and see what we can find. Really, it'll be Colt McCoy. The offensive line's okay. Humphreys is pretty good when he's healthy. Guard will probably be their draft pick, Paris Johnson. Beacham's pretty good as well. Center and right guard are probably the biggest problems here. The other positions, though, they're okay. This is not a genuinely awful line, at least. They've got some other position groups that are really, really bad, but offensive line has some pieces if they stay healthy. Running back room, James Conner, Corey Clement, they're okay. There's some other bodies there, I guess, but it's going to have to be Conner to kind of carry everything, be a 3-down kind of back. It's a lot for a running back that I think is a little bit overrated. Wide receiver group, Hollywood Brown, bunch of 3s, I guess. Hollywood Brown's obviously a good one. He's quick, can catch. There were times last year without D-Hop, he was getting like 16 catches a game. It felt like he's a good player. And then he's got some okay players around him. Greg Dortch, Rondale Moore. They just bought in Zach Pascal. I mean, those are okay bodies. Keep waiting for Rondale Moore to get rolling, really, but hasn't quite happened how he would like it, I guess, so far. So maybe he'll have a bigger output in this offense because he'll have there aren't too many players around him, or I guess who are better. So we'll see. But it's kind of Hollywood and a bunch of 3s, really. Zach Ertz and McBride, it's okay. It's not too bad. Zach Ertz is a really good target. He's a big guy. He's getting up there, but it is what it is. And McBride will continue to get better, I assume, as he goes along in the younger years of his career. Tight ends kind of take 3-4 years to kind of really get into the NFL. So as long as he keeps growing, he's a decent second option. But then we get to the defense that has been absolutely decimated. The defensive line in particular, J.J. Watt gone, Zach Allen gone. It's probably the worst unit in the NFL. The interior is not very good. They didn't replace any of the pass rushing, really. I mean, they have B.J. Ojulari, who they drafted but in the second round, but they got really bad on the D-line and bought nobody in. It's a weird way to go about that. So is there any pressure here to kind of keep up with with opposing offenses. I mean, if the opposing offense has a good O-line, can you stop them at all? Secondary is not great, which we'll get into in a minute. Linebackers are okay, but if you're not getting any pressure whatsoever, what can you do against these modern offenses? I don't know. At linebacker, we've got some decent pieces. Kaiser White comes in, brings him in, or Jonathan Gannon brings him in from Philly with him. Pretty good option there. Zaven Collins is still in this room, and he's got, he's got potential. Collins, he's obviously athletically really, really good. The game just hasn't come to him quite yet. Similar to Isaiah Simmons, who pops in and out of that linebacker and, into that secondary sometimes. So it's tough, but Kaiser White should add to this room, actually, and make it a little bit better, which is good. And then our secondary here, below average. It's not awful, but it's not great. Byron Murphy gone. The corner group is just not very good. The secondary, or the safety group, is good. That is a group we can get behind. What do we have there? Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker, those are two good players. It's this corner group that's not very good, and when you don't have any pressure on the D-line, they're not getting to the quarterback quickly. You're leaving these corners out on an island who aren't very good as it is. You're gonna get carved apart. It's just that simple. They'll be hoping for, really good play out of the corners or just above average play out of the line, and I don't think any of those happen, unfortunately. So this defense could be a sieve, just teams carving through it, and that leaves them in a really bad spot. The floor for this team is not very high. I mean, we were looking at the schedule. The floor for this team is probably 2 wins. This is not a very high floor at all. Ceiling wise, 6 maybe. If Kyler comes back, I have a feeling that, if they go to Washington and lose, Giants, Cowboys, 49ers, Bengals lose their 0-5 at LA, at Seattle, home to Baltimore, at Cleveland. If this team is 0-9 at the turn, does Kyler even come back? Do the Cardinals want him to come back? Are they looking forward to Caleb Williams at that stage, or Drake May? Or are they hoping maybe Kyler comes back and he wants to play for his next team or whatever, but does Kyler want to come back and play for his next team? I have a feeling without Kyler, the ceiling on this team is 5 wins. A lot of this is up to Kyler, but there's a scenario here where they're like 1-8, 0-9, 2-7. Do they bother? Is it tank mode at that point? That is why we're leaning under. So for our first installment, under 4.5, Arizona Cardinals, -120. We're going to do all the teams. At the end, we'll do a recap of all of our overs and unders. But that's the Arizona Cardinals, so under 4.5.